we had to promise to go to school. And the reason you had to go to school, then they couldn't legally put you out and keep you out of school because you went. And so we went to school. We went that day. And our principals, see, it was not illegal at that time to chain the doors. So once all of us got into school, then he had the doors chained, not knowing that we had another plan. And he called for an assembly. And the assembly was to bring everybody over into the gym. And the kids, I said, Gwen, Mr. Jackson has called for assembly. And we've got to go. You going, aren't you? No, I'm not going, and you aren't either. You've promised Dr. Bevel. And you promised Dr. King. But some people think that Dr. King was a part of the children's movement. He was not. He was not. His organizer was. When Eddie came with his sign, and on his sign it said, "It's time." And it was time to go. And in looking around, trying to see and hoping and praying that the others would come along. But I had to put this little leg up on the window sill. The doors were chained, and the only other way we could get out was to go through the windows. And when I got ready to jump, I felt like a gazelle, you know. And being a cheerleader, I knew either he was going to catch me or I was going to have to tumble. But Eddie was there, and he caught me, and here come the other kids just jumping out of the windows like it was a waterfall. And to see all of them, it made me proud. And it made them proud to be able to do exactly what they promised that they would do. On D-Day, the more we walked, the more children that came along with us. It was like an army. It was like formulating an army. The more we walked, and by the time we got to 16th Street Baptist Church, I've never seen so many children from coming to the north, south, east, and west. And after the roll was called, Dr. Bevel called us out in sequences of 50. And the reason for that, I mean, you know, it make you know that Bull Connor and his men were not that smart to see 50 coming out in waves of 50, not knowing all of us were packed up in the church, and it was still some coming through the back door. Ingram Park looked totally different today than what it looked like then at that time. It was red dirt with a lot of rocks, you know, and gravel in it. The firemen had extensions on the fire hoses. And those extensions, they were there on those hoses to make the water stronger. The interlocking of the hands, the older I got and asked Dr. Bevel, it was a love chain is what he taught us. And the love chain was formed, so if your brother and or your sister and even you, if you were knocked down for any reason, you could have been knocked down because of the fire hoses. You could have been knocked down because of big German Shepherd dogs. The fire hoses hit us, and it was like a pin sticking in your skin. The water was so strong. And some children that were really malnourished, we were poor kids, a lot of us, well, the majority of us being poor kids. And some kids did not eat as well as others. And that strong water would knock the flesh. Would knock the flesh from them. But we would not leave them. Those were our brothers and our sisters. And if they were knocked down, we were to pick them up as much as we could and to hold on to them. That's why it was called a love chain. I ended up at Fairground, at the Fair Park, where they had made a May makeshift jail. And the makeshift jail was, I don't know if the fairground was where they would have the Alabama State Fair. And so they didn't get the smell out of there. It was still a smelly situation where they had the hogs, the cow, where they had the hogs, the cows, and all of that, and we sure some manure was still around in there.
When I was in jail for something, I didn't know about the waters, all that stuff. I saw it on TV. But you got to understand the condition then. As a young black boy at that time, we was afraid of the police. My dad told me don't get no closer than a block with the police. At that time, I seen police would call young black boys up to the car, tell them stick the head, can't hear you, stick your head in the window, roll the window up on them, and beat the head with a rubber hose. I've seen, at that same time, like I said, I knew of Chandler's, but I saw Bethel Baptist Church. I saw the aftermath that it bombed. I said they bombed the church next to us, so the bombing was going on. But it was so, the tents were so, and most black folks at that time in Birmingham, majority of them stayed about, I guess 65 or 70% of them stayed in shotgun houses, double tenement houses. They had minimum wage, they had very few cars. The tension was, so it was right for the time for someone to come in for that atmosphere. It was so that the panty wagon was, we call it paddy wagons. We call them panty wagons for some reason, I don't know. They was paddy wagons. But I've seen them, it was a fear. And North Birmingham had a car called, I forget the car, it had a black cat on the back of it, with little yellow eyes, And I remember one day, there was a gentleman named Cool Breeze, and he was a track star. And they chased him through the community just for fun. They chased him, all North Birmingham, they chased him. I've seen cops beat blacks. It was so tense then that when the march happened, I don't know how many people, I think a lot of kids were like me. They knew we was depressed, and it was an opportunity to get involved in something, but we had not been trained. And a lot of us just, like Gwen, she was fortunate to go to the meeting to get trained. But I do remember when I came out after we got out of jail, I remember a gentleman came to me, it was my neighborhood, and he was a big civil rights leader. We call him Big Leslie. His name was James Owens. And that was probably the first time that I became aware of what we had did. Because I was, like I said, I was trying to get out of school, I didn't know. And a lot of kids probably were like me also. They wasn't conscious of what they was doing. But James Owens sat down and talked to me about the impact that what had happened. And that always stick with me, what he was saying about how he was proud we got involved. And I had a brother and 4 cousins also got arrested with me at the same time. I didn't see him while I was in jail, but it was a camaraderie among foot soldiers that's just bonding. And it was a great experience, and I tell people, I'm sort of kind of fortunate that I was in the nonviolent movement, I was in the violent movement, and I was a drill sergeant in the military. So I went from nonviolence to violence, street violence, and then to the military. So I saw the whole gamut. And that time, it was a unique time. We had to be there, to see how Birmingham was. They would put, at that time, blacks could not be out like in Norwood. Blacks could not be out in Norwood after dusk. And we couldn't turn up. They saw you at night, they would stop you for any reason. Stop the car, whatever you was in the car, whatever. It was just so tense. It was sort of like we was incarcerated in a big city. And it was just, I really can't maybe Gwen put more feeling into the intensity that was in Birmingham at that time for black folks. You couldn't shop, and you knew about all these different civil rights movements because the Jet and the Evening Magazine was exposing. And I'll never forget that I saw Emmett Till in the Jet magazine. I think that was really a shocking time in my life when I saw Emmett Till in there. So once I got into the march and got involved in it, it was such a magnificent thing that young kids did, and some of them just did it out of having something to latch on to. We knew we needed to do it. We knew that I think also about some of them coming together, it gave others courage to get involved. And I don't know, it was just, it was a good movement, and I sometimes think about what life would be like now if we hadn't gotten involved then. It probably still would have came, but maybe it came as soon as it did. And one thing evolved to another. So I thank God for Martin Luther King, Fred Shuttleworth, Colonel Johnson, James Armstrong, a lot of leaders out there, Miss Rosa Kent. There was a lot of people that got involved that made this happen. So it wasn't just, it was a good time to come together for freedom. And it sort of paralleled what happened in Africa with South Africa with apartheid. It was a spark that, I think the Kids March was a spark that lit the forest fire. It made a blaze. It was already going on, because it wasn't like that was the first civil rights march they had, but it was, when the kids got involved, they just lit the fire and put more energy into it, because the parents was involved. And like Gwen was saying, the threat was out that if your parents had a job, they would lose their job if you got arrested or anything like that. So that threat was there. It was a real threat, because most people was on minimum wage then. You know, it was just, we were the working class of Birmingham. You know, all people in Birmingham had money was probably railroad folks, teachers and preachers, and railroad folks.